The following is intended only for mature audiences.
Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann, and it's just me, by myself, to talk about how we have another black man dead at the hands of police. By now, I'm sure you know just about everything there is to know about this case due to the constant 24-hour media bombardment. But let's go over just a little something here because it happened in my home state. It's close to my heart. So what happened was a few days ago, 20-year-old Daunte Wright was pulled over by Brooklyn Center PD. And during the course of this traffic stop, they tried to arrest him on an outstanding warrant, and he ended up shot and then drove away from the scene while he was dying and crashed into another vehicle. This obviously caused a stir, and people went to the site of the shooting, and they started to protest. They were protesting because now former Brooklyn Center police officer Kim Potter discharged her firearm during the traffic stop when she says she intended to use her taser. She shouted, "Taser, taser," during the body cam footage of the stop itself. So what we got here is a case of mistaking your firearm for a taser. And I would like to break that down for a second, because as someone that went to cop school, was a cop, worked in a jail, I know all this shit. When you're a cop, you wear a duty belt, right? Your firearm is on your dominant hand side. Left if you're a southpaw, right like most officers. Your taser is on the opposite side, not for you to draw with your other hand, but for you to still draw with your dominant hand across the body. So she didn't even grab from the right region of her duty belt, which, even though I believe that she mistakenly did this, is a colossal bonehead move that most people are hearing about and thinking, what the actual fuck? How do you do that? Because a taser weighs much less than a gun. That is true. Ounces to pounds. In terms of your average officer has 13. 1 in the chamber, 12 in the mag. The taser itself, the heaviest part of it, is usually the cartridge on the front of it. And seeing as it was proven she only shot him once, it stands to reason that she did intend to use a taser. Within a day, they released the body cam footage of it. And you see the stop, and here's how it goes down. The car is pulled over. You see 2 male officers, 1 on each side. And then you've got Officer Potter's body cam. She's a little bit behind them. Now, the officer that is talking to him, Daunte, at some point tells him to get out of the car. They had pulled him over for expired tabs, and then the officer had also noticed an air freshener hanging from the mirror, which in our state you're not supposed to do. Fuzzy dice, air fresheners, any kind of shit like those people that hang those dangly sun-refracting prism things, you're not supposed to do that. Daunte was on the phone with his mom, so she claims he was only stopped for the air freshener. I'm telling you, if the tabs are expired, the tabs are expired. I haven't heard anything to say that that's a lie. So anybody saying he was pulled over for an air freshener is wrong. But they went to pull him out of the vehicle because he had an outstanding warrant. I've heard it's everything from a misdemeanor to a gross misdemeanor. I don't even know what it's for. But the point is that he was pulled out of the vehicle to be arrested on an outstanding warrant. Here's where the real breakdown gets. And I don't know how many people have really taken the time to go over this portion of the body cam footage. It's really important because it literally dictates the rest of how this goes down. The officer that was talking to Daunte, he opens the car door, he pulls Daunte out, he stands there right next to the door with it still open and tries to handcuff him, and he's haphazardly trying to pat search him at the same time. You did no one else on the scene a justice with your idiocy there. And the number of officers involved in this one traffic stop leads me to believe that one of them was in training, possibly the one who pulled him out of the car. You don't fucking handcuff somebody next to a vehicle with the door open. You pull them out, you shut the door, you walk them to the front, or you walk them to the back. Never so they have access to get back into the vehicle. And that's what changed the context of this from a traffic stop with an outstanding warrant arrest to one where it rose to the level of an officer believing she needed to use force. So if he shuts the door, pulls him away from the door itself, he can't climb back in the vehicle. That's where the shooting happened. That's why the shooting happened. So you fucked everybody else with your shitty logistics and tactics. Way to go, bud.
You dumbass.
Another thing, they should have had the passenger take the keys out of the ignition and hand it to the officer on her side, her being the girlfriend of Daunte. Because if the police have control of the car, he can just run away on foot. And that's not worth shooting him, because in our state, with Statute 609066, which is police use of deadly force, you do not shoot anyone in the back unless they're a fleeing felon with a weapon that you believe. Failure to apprehend them will end up in the committance of another felony that could result in great bodily harm or death. People were guessing about the officer who did the shooting once they found out, it was a female. Oh, is she a rookie or is she really old? Well, she's a senior officer, but she's not like old and stupid. I will say that, again, colossal bonehead move when you mistake a firearm for a fucking taser. I don't know how the hell you do that shit. But honestly, people sitting here saying, there's no need to even worry about the weapons on your belt. Well, you're not cops. You weren't trained as cops. I'd bet most of you didn't go to school to be a cop. And I'm willing to bet that at no time the media, in its infinite wisdom, trying to further divide us by pushing opposite sides of a single line issue, are going to talk about the force continuum. The force continuum is an established standard that dictates how much force an officer must use depending upon the level of threat from who they're dealing with. It starts with officer presence, that's just showing up, verbal commands, telling somebody to do something, soft hands-on, hard hands-on. Soft hands-on would be handcuffing, hard hands-on would be defending oneself. And then it elevates from there to less lethal weapons, such as your taser or your ASP baton, to lethal force, which is a gun. Now, the force continuum operates on this principle right here. You use an equal to or greater amount of force than what is being used against you to stop the threat. We've talked about this on this show before because we've been on the air for 5.5 years. I know this shit's come up. I have talked about the force continuum. I don't know why the fuck the media isn't doing it, but it's important. When Daunte Wright gets back into that car and he tries to flee, driving a vehicle constitutes lethal amounts of force because you can kill someone with that car. Now, I will side with Daunte and his family on this one. None of the officers were in front of the car, so they should have just tried whatever they could to pull him out of the car, because they weren't going to get dragged with it unless they got caught up in the belt. You grab him around the arm and the leg and you yank his skinny little ass out of there because he didn't weigh that much. Wasn't a stocky guy. He wasn't a big guy like fucking George Floyd was. So you pull him out, you throw him on the ground, you cuff him there. Yeah, you're a little rough with him, but he's still alive today, which is important because he did have a son who's going to turn 2 in July. Now, that's another kid who's not going to have a fucking father. That's great. And I feel terrible for his family, his mother especially, because she was on the phone hearing all of what was going on. Like, she had to hear him die while he's bleeding out from a gunshot wound to the fucking chest, which as a parent has to be the worst thing you can experience. I mean, losing a child's one thing, watching them die is another. Hearing them die, not being able to see them or be near them to comfort them is far worse, in my opinion. Now, during the course of this, the chief of police, Timothy Gannon, talked about how he believed that Officer Potter was going to use a taser because she used her training to the T by shouting taser so other officers would know her intention. But then you watch the body cam footage, and it's clearly a firearm that you're seeing. And then afterwards, once he drives away, she's like, holy shit, I shot him. Well, what the fuck? Where was that level of clarity at the time when you were choosing what tool from your belt to draw, Batwoman?
Stupid bitch.
Anyway, so the chief, he supported his officer, and people were pissed at that. And then you got the protests that were starting, and police responded, and people were jumping up and down on fucking cop cars, smashing the light bars and the windshields and denting the hoods and shit, and the cops are just standing there letting this shit happen because in Minnesota, you don't want to have too extreme of a response because you might cause further riots or, I don't know, cause people to go, oh shit, let's not fuck with the cops. No, they let it happen. Just like the looting in Minneapolis last year that limp dick fucking Jacob Frey and Governor Fat Tits there let happen. This shit was allowed to go on. So the city manager of Brooklyn Center, the city where this took place, he got fired just for saying that he thought the officer was entitled to due process like all city employees. And then Officer Potter resigned, the chief resigned, Because I'm guessing he wanted no fucking part of handling any of this shit once the city council's like, you're not going to use riot control measures on people rioting, which makes perfect sense if they become violent and start trashing property or looting. I don't know why we can't fucking trust the cops to just use their trained tactics to stop people from acting like fucking animals, but apparently this is what it's come to with this defund and denounce movement. You fucking dildos. Which, by the way, I saw some pictures from the night of the shooting. I know a guy that does security on the side. He was there. He's showing me pictures on his phone. And there are Black Lives Matter guys dressed up like fucking militia members in all black with goddamn Kevlar vests and ARs slung and their fucking berets on. Like they're gonna be the protesters' own police force or something. The thought process happens where you get to, oh, we're gonna show up looking like a military group here and we're gonna have near military grade weapons just for fucking show. That night, a strip mall gets fucking looted and trashed. That's great. And then 2 nights later, despite the fact that our governor had put a curfew in effect, a number of people decided to descend on businesses in the Shingle Creek area of Brooklyn Center and looted the shit out of a ton of businesses, including Walmart and, ooh, big shocker here, Foot Locker.
Oh my God, no way.
So way to go, local scumbags. You really showed us how you feel about the deceased with that protest. Which I gotta say this, you ganking a new flat screen TV and a bunch of Nike shoes isn't exactly helping Daunte Wright to rest in power, you fucking idiots. It's making a mockery of the grief of his family and the gravity of the situation by you deciding to make it about your own selfish wants. You opportunistic fucking cockroaches. Like, the whole thing sickens me. The fact that the cops were this idiotic and didn't handle it right, and the fact that this kid died and leaves behind a kid, and his parents are grieving, and now, I mean, we've got the fucking Officer Derek Chauvin trial going on for the George Floyd death, and this shit happens, and now we've got another cop. This time she's charged with second-degree manslaughter, which I guess you neglected to use duty to prevent harm, or whatever the language is. All I know is she's going to have to go on trial now, and they're going to decide whether she was negligent or culpably negligent, which, for you people that don't speak legal jargon, the difference being, like, for example, if you run a red light by mistake and hit somebody and kill them, manslaughter, criminal vehicular manslaughter. If you run 3 red lights going 20 miles over the speed limit and hit a bunch of kids on bikes, that's culpable negligence. You knew what you were doing, and culpable negligence equates to you knowing that your behavior is most likely going to result in great bodily harm or death of other people, or property destruction due to your own failure to drive with due care in that instance, or failure to act with due care at large. And in this looting thing, I will never understand why poor people are like, yeah, we're going to go steal some shit. Fuck yeah, let's go do this. What I don't get is why wait for there to be an officer-involved shooting? Why don't you just go break into stores and steal all the time? Why not? I mean, you're so cool with robbing and thieving. I mean, fucking do it. Man the fuck up. But honestly, if it's me, I would have had members of the National Guard, which were deployed, by the way, a great many of them around all the major shopping centers in the area. People want to raise a ruckus? I guarantee that they're going to disperse. I know that sounds very ridiculous, but this standard that has been set that once the police shoot somebody, we're just going to stand down and try not to make things worse. Well, sometimes you need to raise your level of response, per the force continuum, to meet the threat so you can de-escalate things. I did it all the time in the jail when people would get up in my face. I would fucking ramp up to a level that most officers would never dream of screaming and talking like in the face of an inmate. I didn't care if they were going to hit me because I knew looking them in the eyes, I was going to scare the shit out of them 9 times out of 10. But in this instance, if you've got looters, fucking take out your batons and crack some fucking kneecaps. Show them what the fuck is up. If they're going to treat the police like they're a gang and like they're going to fight them like it's a war, which it fucking isn't. I mean, I guess it's a war of morals here. Stealing is wrong versus, well, I want some free shit just because somebody died and now's the best time to do it. I'm so mad. Ugh, social justice. Fuck the rules, right? Beat the shit out of some people, haul them off. Because one of these times, if this keeps happening in Minnesota, you're going to get some white supremacists that are going to show up in their truck with fucking semi-auto weapons and start lighting people up on their own. Like that idiot Rittenhouse kid that showed up in fucking Milwaukee and shot some people. He went there saying he was there to defend the police. Nah, he went there to kill people. You're going to get extremists, or you're going to get people that are going to feel compelled to go out there and defend their community, to calm down a crowd that's out of control. There's no easy answer to this. The cops just need to be more on their game with how they're doing their job. And in this instance, it all could have been prevented with stop the car, tell them to turn the vehicle off, ask them to put the keys on top of the vehicle. Tell them, don't be scared. We're not going to hurt you. You have an outstanding warrant. We're going to book you. We're going to take you downtown. We'll get this figured out. If it's nothing, you'll get released. If it's something, your car is going to get impounded and held, and you're going to have to go before the judge. It sucks, but if you don't fucking commit crimes, then you're not on probation. And if you don't commit crimes and then fail to show up for court, you shouldn't have a warrant. So yeah, I am going to play that card again where Daunte clearly was not an angel. He didn't deserve to die in this instance. I'm not saying he deserved to die at all, in general. But still, you commit crimes, you go to court, you bail out, you get a court date, you don't show up, there's a warrant. The next time they fucking come in contact with you, you're getting hooked up and taken away. Fuck this running away shit. Is your life worth getting away from the cops for maybe a few hours or a couple of days? Because they will fucking find you if you flee, whether it's on foot or in a car. You're not going to get away. Statistically speaking, it's not in the highest of probabilities. It's at the very bottom of that scale. So 1, don't commit crimes. 2, don't run from the fucking police. Just do what they ask of you. Most times, they're not looking just to drag you off and shoot you and put you in a shallow grave somewhere for fun like it's fucking Brazil or Mexico. So just calm the fuck down. You did the crime, do the time. Fucking answer to it because you're supposed to be an adult. And then the police need to be very cognizant of their situation that they're involved in. You are not trained when you're arresting somebody to pull them out of the car and leave them right there next to an open car door so they can jump back in. Fight or flight's going to kick in. So whether this kid wanted to run or not, he got scared and he dove in the car. And as I said before earlier in this episode, grab his ass, drag him out, cuff him and stuff him. Fucking do it. It's easy. He's still alive, and then we're not having any of this shit again. Businesses aren't looted. Lives aren't fractured or destroyed. It's a very simple fucking answer. Everybody does what they're supposed to instead of panicking and freaking out. We've seen this shit too many times for people to not have figured out that's how it should go, and it's an easy answer. It happens enough to think about, oh yeah, another one of these. Well, here's what I would have done. Complicated problem, simple solution. It didn't have to be this way, and I'm sorry that Daunte's gone because he definitely did not deserve to die. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann, and that's the end.